Hello and welcome to the Seeking Heaven channel. I'm your host, Tamara Caulder Richardson, a six-time near-death experiencer, as well as an international evidential medium, as well as Christ and Ultradimensional channel. If you haven't been to this channel on YouTube, please subscribe so you can make sure that you don't miss any of my new upcoming episodes, which I have a couple a week. Please hit the bell, subscribe, like, and make comments. And also consider donating and supporting this channel. Every little bit is very much so appreciated. And I do have different membership that you can join. So thank you for doing that. Now, let me jump right in. Today is part 2 with Lorna Byrne. Lorna Byrne is the guest today, and she is a international best-selling author. She has 8 books so far. She's had many angel experiences as well as seeing spirit beings, humans, without bodies. And so she is here today to talk about how she receives communication from angels, what angels really are, what is their job, why they're always around you, and how we can all be more loving to one another. So, and so much more. There's so much more in this episode. So don't miss this one. And also watch the first part of Lorna Byrne in part 1. So don't miss that. And in addition to this, also watch and take in, it's only like 5 minutes, but Lorna does give a world peace prayer channeled by Archangel Michael, and she gives a blessing to everyone. So if you want to get high in the Most High, join that world peace prayer that is also available as a short clip video. All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Enjoy. Well, I
Beautiful.
knew my guardian angel's name, but I didn't know later on that it was an angel. I didn't know. It was Uriel. I saw it was this flame, this orange,
Yeah,
was one of my
yeah,
near death. He was there healing me on one of them with a nail that went through my head. So I knew, but I just didn't know it was an angel. I mean, well, I didn't. I kept seeing Uriel. They felt like a friend.
yeah, and that's what the angels do. The angels are your friend. You know, they were
That's a good
creatures
thing.
that God created long before even the universe was created. You know, and we as human beings put angels on pedestals, but we're on the pedestal.
Hmm. That's true.
You
That's what.
know, we
Yes.
we are ourselves, and the angels love us, and because of our soul, they love to be right there beside us.
Right. And I want to address when you were talking about people that are mean and people not wanting to pray for them. This is how I look at it. If someone does a horrible act, I mean, let's just say a criminal or something most people would agree is bad. Um, how tortured must that soul be to do that? And I feel pity for them.
I just have to smile at you. Something, I have been saying it now for a while, and people are finding it hard. Your soul is the spark of light of God. How can
Yes.
you put any mark on it or any sin on it? You can't. You cannot do that. And again, it's religion that has told us that your soul becomes marked, but you can't mark God. I'm
Ooh,
sorry.
that's
You
powerful.
you can't do that.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, people were asking me about purgatory, and I said, you know, um, God has never shown me any place called purgatory, so I don't believe it exists. Um, and I did ask God, and it doesn't exist at all. But the lovely thing was, I was saying this for years. Nobody really questioned me on it. They just said, well, in my religion, they say there is. And I would say, no, because if there was, God would have shown me. Um, so I know it's written in the books as well. But
Didn't the
and
Pope just say there isn't hell? The Pope just came out and said there is no hell.
no, there isn't hell.
No, but he
You
just came
know,
out.
like
Yeah.
it's just like a bishop at a talk in the States. Actually, the church was packed, I didn't even know he was disguised as far as that, because wasn't dressed up, in anything. And he came up after the talk and he said, by the way, Lorna, you're right. There is no such place as purgatory. Um, that was only created to bring money in as such. So
Indulgency.
you pay for your
Mhm.
sins, you pay for the soul of your loved one, but your loved one has gone straight to heaven anyway. Whether they were, in your eyes, good or bad, it doesn't make any difference
Well, they
in,
receive
in
help
that in
there.
that way. And God has never shown me him sending any soul, this is the way I put it, any soul to that place called hell. We know
Right.
there isn't a place called hell in that way. But again, you have to remember when the Bible was written and the Quran, if I'm
Mhm.
saying it properly, was written, that language is so old that even when they started to translate, the language had changed so many times. So nearly every word would have six meanings. So every religion can put whatever meaning they want on that.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that people create their own hell or different lower levels of consciousness based on their mindset or reality? Not
I
really coming from God, but from the person.
well, I think in a sense that's a very big question, and you could go into it in loads of details from loads of different angles. But in a sense, because the human part of us fight, for all the material things, especially today, way back before, let's say, we started making roads and things like that, we probably looked after each other much better. We were more caring and more loving because, the indigenous people in the world, they know how to take care of nature and the forest and everything like that. And, a lot of them would never even, when I was growing up, children would be slapped, beaten for not sitting at the table up straight or something like
Yeah.
that, where they never did anything like that. So is there such thing as really bad? It's in the sense mankind has created this evil ourselves.
Right.
If even if a child is, one young man told me he was maybe 9 at the time or 10, and in a place where there was war and children were kidnapped and turned into soldiers, and his little brother, who was only 3 or 4 at the time as well, and he was being made, he was taught how to use a gun, and then he
Mhm.
was being made to execute this other person,
Terrible.
but he didn't do it. But he did suffer horrifically for not doing it. But he did something that you might say, how on earth could he have done such a thing? But it was love. This is what you have to
Yes.
remember. It was actually
Yes.
love. He loved his little brother, and he knew and saw what was happening to his little brother. So he turned the gun on his little brother and pulled the trigger straight away and killed him.
Oh my
But
goodness.
that was love, because
Mm.
his little brother was all the time being used as you know, a knife at his throat. They would beat him,
Oh, that's
starve him,
horrible.
to make him do what they wanted him to do. So it's not a horrible thing in that sense. It was the love for
Right.
his brother, that he suddenly, and how he managed to do it, so quickly. Um, it was the love he had for his little brother. He said, I didn't want my little brother to suffer anymore. And I met this man, and he was already, you know, I would say 50 or
Okay.
40 years of age.
So he was
He
grown.
did escape eventually, but he had a horrific story to
He
tell.
was He was stuck in that.
Yeah, and that in a sense was the evil of mankind, not it was our own evil that governments and what do we want power
Mm.
for over another human being?
Yes, it's not right.
It's not right. We have to, I'm all the time saying we have to stand up and be counted in the way that is just for everyone. You can't look for your government or your leaders just to give what you want for you. It has to be for everyone,
I agree. It has to
and
be
yeah,
selfless.
it has
Yes,
to be equal for everyone. Like everyone should have a
yes,
job and a roof over their head and
yes.
food on the table and smiles and laughter and the same education
Right.
as
A
everyone.
normal life.
And yeah, just the
Healthy.
normal, the just, and that's what we're all in search of. Who wants to live in a castle?
I
In that
don't.
sense, and it's empty and there's hardly anyone there. And I would often meet sometimes someone that is very well off, and they
Mm.
might say, I don't know if I have any friends or whether they're here just because of what they can get.
Right. Oh, I
You
believe it.
know,
That's the
let's be
price.
there for each other, you
Right.
know, and don't judge each other, love each other because they have a soul like you and a guardian
Yes.
angel. And if
Yes.
someone says something to you that hurts you, remember they're saying because they're angry because something has hurt them.
Yeah. Hurt people hurt.
Don't don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. You know, say to yourself, it's okay. They don't really mean it, even though they're screaming and shouting. Like sometimes even a parent will say, my daughter or my son hate me, and I'm turning to hate them. But
Mm.
a parent shouldn't be doing that. A parent shouldn't be
No.
taking it personal. Who else can the young person scream and shout at? Only the
Right.
parent, because they trust the parent.
Right.
And deep
To,
down, they believe the parent loves them and they want the parent to love them back and say, let's see, can I help? What's
yes.
wrong?
Well, I wanted to ask you, and you're talking about parent and with your brother that passed, Christopher. Did your mother ever find out that you were able to see and communicate with him, that he was there in love for
No,
her?
she didn't until Angels in My Hair came out.
Okay.
And I remember being down with her and she just saying it touched her heart, and she told me more.
Mm.
She told me that my little brother had been buried because we were so poor at that time, had been buried in some place where all babies at that time went, in loads of babies in the one
Yes.
grave. It wasn't a family
Yes.
thing. And you weren't allowed to see them after that or anything. And she said he was always in her heart and still always thinks of him, you
Oh, I'm
know.
sure.
So,
Love is
you
forever.
know, I think it gave her comfort realizing, and she said, sometimes she would have felt his presence as an infant, you know, and I know that would have been probably at times when she felt him in her arms while she was sleeping. Maybe she was dreaming,
Mhm.
but he was
Right.
actually in her arms,
Yes.
you
A
know.
lot, right. A lot of dreams are very telling.
Yeah.
Now, I know a lot of people that have follow you, have read your books, or some people that maybe are new to you want to know more about what is it that the angels, what is their role, and how do they communicate with you, and how do they want to communicate with most people?
Um, that's a load of questions in one.
I know. Sorry, sorry.
Um, I
It's
have
true.
to try. Well, I suppose communication with you yourself, with other people. Your guardian angel wants to communicate with you. You know, sometimes a person might say, I get this gut feeling every so often about something. That's your guardian angel. Or it is that your guardian angel has a loved one in and around you, and you respond to that gut feeling. You know,
Yes.
angels are great teachers. If my guardian angel said to me, Lorna, I'll do it, pick up this glass, I would pick it up, but most of us won't bother. We're kind of lazy in that way. Or sometimes when we get the thought into our mind so strong, we're making a decision, but we're being influenced by so many people around us, and we know we should go left, but the influence of the world around us is so strong that we kind of push that away and we go the other direction. And later on, we say, I knew I should have gone the
Should
other
have
way.
listened. Yeah.
That was your guardian angel. So they're great teachers. If even if you're, suddenly you it comes into your head, oh, go and get an ice cream. And you're saying to yourself, no, I don't want an ice cream. Go and get it. I would say go and get it, because they're teaching you to respond, or, if they're saying, go and take a break, go and take a break,
Right.
a 5-minute break. They're teaching you to respond so that when something is really important in your life,
Hmm.
when you were meant to go left and you went the other way because the world was telling you, and afterwards you were saying, I knew I should have gone the other way, they want you to jump for joy and say you did it yourself. They don't need praise or thanks or anything like that. They
Right. It
they
was your
want to
job.
give you the guidance because they love you so much. You're their
Yes.
number one, and there's no one else in the world like you. The guardian angel only has their eyes for you, and other angels can come in and around you at different times, but they come and go. Even archangels come and go. Like sometimes
Yes.
people would say they believe they're, Archangel Michael or Archangel Gabriel or any of the, is their
Mhm.
guardian angel. I'm afraid not. They aren't. It's just
Right.
that every time you think of them, they're there at that very moment. It's
Beautiful.
incredible that an archangel can be with millions of people at the same time,
Right.
and even be with me at the same time,
It's, I think it's so neat.
that
It's true.
that's incredible. Um, and ask them for a sign. And one of the signs people do ask a lot is for a feather, you know,
I like
and
feathers.
if, or sometimes a flower,
Mm.
they say, I'd love some flowers. And sometimes somebody would say, they never, no one gave them a bunch of flowers. I never got any flowers. And then I would say, did any child ever come up to you with a little wildflower?
Mm.
And a lot of them would turn around and say, oh, yeah, they did. Well, that was your guardian angel giving you the flowers, because
Oh, beautiful.
the way a thought might come into your mind to send someone a bunch of flowers or to give them a bunch of flowers, but you never do. The human being has to do it. You're being asked. It was like when I was in London there. Um, I took a rose because I had been given roses. And when I was leaving, crossing a restaurant, going through the tables, I was told, give this rose to this lady. And I just said, here, this is for you, love you. And I walked off. So
It's
I know
beautiful.
she had asked for a flower. She got one rose, a yellow one, by the way.
Yes, flowers are very significant, and that's true that they can come through and
Yeah,
communicate any way.
yeah.
So, how do you
How do
see
I communicate?
angels working with guides? I know some people
Say
are going to
that
be asking
again.
that. How do you see angels working with our guides?
I think what's happening there is, you know, a guide could be the soul of a loved one, or the soul of someone in the past or within your family, or in a sense, an
Right.
ancestral angel. in that
Sure.
way. Um, but sometimes when we say it's our guide, it's actually an angel. It's
Okay,
like
that's what I was
through
wondering.
different cultures, it's all different names, but it's one and the
Mm.
same.
So, do you think that humans, once they reach a state after they've crossed over and maybe they've purified and been there for a while, do you feel like they can reach a state of angel?
I have to smile again. You know, you and I are more than any angel ever could be. I have to smile. Um, we don't need to be, our soul does not need to be purified. No.
Well, so then, are there earth angels here? And what do you feel about that?
It depends on what a person means by earth angels. Sometimes a person would say to me, you know, Mary down the road or John or whatever are earth angels because they're so good. They do
Okay.
so, they're so good, they're so loving. But if an angel, so I put it this way, if an angel like Archangel Michael on one particular occasion made himself so visible humanly in a human appearance that priests said, "Good morning, Father," to him, you know, and it was like
That's
as if I
terrific.
wasn't there. So there is a difference. Angels can make themselves so human in appearance, and you would hear loads of reports where somebody said, you know, there was this man beside me, and he was talking to me and telling me I'd be okay. And when the rescue workers come, they turn around and say, but there was nobody here. We're the first. You
Yes.
know, it's like, you know, a mountain climber a number of years ago, he just said he was praying and asking that he'd survive, and he just saw this bright light, you know, and he followed the bright light, and it kept him on the path because it was pitch dark,
Yes.
you know. Or in a sense, you know, I always remember this man telling me that during World War II, he's not alive now, but he telling me that, you know, himself and another soldier, you know, we were in the trenches, we were running, um, everything was going off everywhere, and somehow they said they got lost. He didn't know how they got lost because they were running, and like all the others, so they were all running for cover, but seemingly they got lost, and all of a sudden they see this. He calls it now an angel because when he thought about it, he was so bright, you know, like a light. But it was a man, he said, but he was so bright, and he was standing on the bank, and he said, this way you go this way, turn this way. And he said that angel saved their life, because if they had turned the other way, he wouldn't be here, you know.
Yes.
So it depends on what a person means. What, like some people have said, I'm a human angel. By the way, I'm not. In that sense, I'm not an angel. Just like you are more than any angel ever could be, because you have a soul, that spark of light of God. Angels are light, but God has never told me that they are soul, you know. And I know people, I'll tell you the truth, I'm not going to say what others say. And I suppose I only can tell you what God and the angels have taught me.
Of
I can't
course. Of
tell you
course.
anything else.
Of course. And I've heard a lot of those stories where that angel can manifest a body or perceive body
No,
and then
they,
show up and then be the nurse in the
yeah,
hospital. And they're like, we have no nurse like that. And then
yeah,
lots of stories I've heard like that.
yeah. They don't take over somebody's body now.
Right. Oh, they just create
They
one.
don't, no, they don't.
Right.
How can I explain that? That's actually very hard to explain. They don't have to do that. An angel gives a human appearance within that light. They are light, but they give a human appearance, but they can make that human appearance so clear that
Hmm.
if one passed you by on the street or you looked
Right.
over and an angel had made itself so human looking. The only
Right.
difference is if you looked a bit more close, if you didn't just look, if you allowed yourself to see, you would see that they're perfect. Even the clothing they would have on them
Right.
would literally
Right.
be perfect. And in a sense, they would look so new or so old, depending on what appearance they are giving, but
I got it.
perfect.
Yeah, I got it. My mom and I saw that
Okay.
once. Yeah, and
Good,
they didn't
good.
look real. They looked kind of too perfect. They were
Yeah,
policemen
yeah.
coming to help in a dark alley. They yeah,
Good,
so
good.
yeah, they look kind of perfect, like
Yeah,
just that's all
yeah.
I can really say. Everything looked exactly perfect. They didn't look, I don't know, like a
Yeah.
model. Well, look, tell everybody what about your book, about what you want when they read it, what you want them to take away with your book. I don't want everybody to purchase Lorna's book, and you can do that, and her others. She's got many books that you can purchase. But tell us how what you exactly want people to get out of this.
Well, I want them to take out of it whatever they want, whatever they need, because it's not about me, it's about
Mm,
you. It's about the
mm-hmm.
reader. And I can only tell you, like, when I meet people or people stop me on the street and they say, "You saved my life," because they read Angels in My Hair or because a stranger gave them the book Angels in My Hair. Like the young man was telling me, he came up to me and he said, "Lorna, I bought your book when it came out first, and I was on the verge on giving up on life in every aspect,"
Wow.
he was saying. And I read it and it changed everything for me, changed my look on the world. It changed me, he said himself, in such a way that I'm still here today and I'm enjoying life, happy, and I've lots of
Wow.
blessings. And he says, now what I do is I carry a book on me in my pocket as many days as I
Oh,
possibly can, and I give it to a stranger. And he was telling me one day he was on train, tram, or whatever you call them. I don't know what you
yes,
call them.
yeah.
And he knew that he was standing, and he knew there was a young man behind him. But when he was getting off, he took it out of his pocket and said, "This is a great read," and handed it to him. And he just got off the train, never said another word. And he just said, if that saved that young man's life or gave him a positive and gave him hope on the world today, on his life, and gave him love, he was happy. And I suppose, it's only the stories that people tell me. It's like a child telling me that it stopped their dad from committing suicide because they had lost their mom. The little girl who was 9 dragged her dad to a book signing with her two other little siblings because mom had died. And, they were getting their dad to read Angels in My Hair out loud to them every day. And the
Oh,
little
how
girl
nice.
dragged her daddy in to this bookshop and made him wait in the queue, you know, to thank me, but it's not me you need to thank, for saving her dad's life, for her dad still being here. You know, I suppose miracles do happen,
Yeah.
but that's God's doing. It's not
Mhm.
mine. You
Yes.
know, it's about the people that read it, and even the children, the teenagers, the younger people, the older people, and in a sense about, you know, how that miracle happens within your life in whatever way that may be. It's not about me. I'm only passing on the messages that God has given me and the angels, what they have taught me. And I'm still learning in that sense. You know,
Of course.
I'm still learning all of the time. That's why I say if someone says they're highly educated, no one is, because we have so much to learn.
Right. Otherwise, we would not be here.
Yeah,
It'd be
we
time to
have.
go home.
Yeah, we have so much, so much to learn. So I've just enjoyed talking with you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, as our final, well, I have one final question for you, and I promise this won't be too difficult. But is there any message or messages that you wanted to tell our viewers right now that are watching, like a message of hope or love?
I I will just say to everybody, and this is something I've been told to say is you, every individual out there is a light and you are burning
Mhm.
bright. And I'm asking you to keep that light burning in the world because I see that spark of light and every day I see it getting bigger. We will, no matter what's happening in the world today, we will get through it. But I
Yes.
want us to come out the other side way better for everyone, not just for individuals, for everyone, and that we will have grown spiritually, and that in a sense we'll be more loving and kind. Caring is sharing, children, will say that caring is sharing. And I know I've seen some children that don't know how to share, they want it all for themselves. But if they keep seeing the world telling them that it's all for yourself only, they won't know and they'll miss out on love. And love is such a precious gift. You can't buy it, by the way. It's not for
Mhm.
sale. Hope is not for sale. Compassion is not for sale. Kindness and goodness is not for sale. These are the things you cannot buy, but they are the spiritual things of life.
Yes.
So what would you say? If everyone could open their heart even a tiny wee bit, take a deep breath when somebody is lashing out at you, or if all of a sudden you feel, I hate that person, just take a deep breath for a second and say, no, I won't hate them, no matter what they say or do. I will just put love out there and goodness, and I'll keep that light of hope burning. And to pray, regardless of what faith you are, but to pray for everyone. Don't judge, no judging.
I agree. That's beautiful. And one of the things you mentioned earlier, I really like, and I don't know if you realized it, but you were talking about your time alone and sitting in the silence, and I feel like that's key. So you can feel your own spirit, and you can feel the divine spirit, and also, your angels, and that in that, I feel like you'll feel you're loved and cocooned, but you have to be quiet and be still for that to happen. And you allow that time. And I think in this busy world, so many people don't, but I feel that is a big spiritual truth, what you mentioned early on about doing that. I think it's important to be still so you can get information or at least feel your love. So you've been amazing. Everyone, please go to, you can go to Amazon, buy Lorna's books. You can also go on her website, lornabyrne.com. You'll have the information below. And she also has a children's foundation, which I think is amazing that you're doing that to support and help children around the world. Did you want to say quickly about your foundation? If you feel inclined to donate, please do. Did you want to
Yeah,
mention something?
we have the Children's Foundation, and that was something I was told to start up. And my family said, "Mom, are you crazy? You don't have any money. How can you do that?" But then, again, we have the sanctuary, and that has happened without any money. Someone else gave it. And so we have the Seraph Foundation as well, and at the moment we're doing an awful lot there. And I do extreme cases as well. And they come in different ways. So yes, I'm looking for anyone to donate or don't say the word donate,
Yes, donate.
if they can.
Yes.
Um, you know, because it's my life has just been in a sense a miracle, all blessings, and even with the sanctuary and the Sarah Foundation, I was shown that as a child,
Mhm.
and at different stages through my life, and then it coming about where again American somebody went in search of us, and you know said, "Oh, Lorna, can we add a room onto your house? On the old farmhouse, that would give you more space." And then they decided, no, that's not good enough. And then one day my son shows me, says, "I want you to see something." But Mom, this is only a laugh. It would be incredible. And the first thing I see is two pillars in the gate. And I was shocked because I knew exactly. And then my son, just as a joke, as a laugh, just, sent it off to these Americans and said, "Listen, I just want to show you. I know you offered to add a room onto Mom's house, but we know that on the farmhouse wouldn't be good enough." And they bought it and they donated. And again, it's got a forest, a river, and we're still looking for loads of help and to do
Okay.
workshops there, learning there, for people to go back to nature. But again, for extreme cases, and again for where those that don't have, but we have to be real careful, because I've often found people that have a lot would look for something for nothing, and you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't
Yes.
you shouldn't do that whatsoever. Um, so we'd have to be careful that way. It was like one parent, well, a few have said this, "Lorna, why would you do this for us?" Just think of those words. And that's an extreme cases I'm talking about. Why would
Yes.
you do this for us? You know, um, I would love, what would you say, God to give more so I can help more, so I can give more. Our
Okay.
extreme cases they go in all directions, but we need help to do all of that. And God has even said, school will come, but someone has to give for that to happen. But it's
Yeah.
not a school like, schools we have
Right.
today. It's going to be completely different. I
Oh, I'm
even
sure.
parents signing up for their children, and I'm saying, well, it's not going to happen that quick. We have to wait for people to give, and you have to give with a pure heart and expect nothing in return, because
Always.
even for the Children's Foundation, we're bringing it into the Serve Foundation. um you know it could be a child in the future of yours that we are helping.
Yeah.
It could be your
Absolutely could be.
grandchild. So the Sarah Foundation does need lots and lots of help, and people just give. I always say, give with a pure heart, but we need bigger givers, if you know what I
So
mean.
so this is an incredible cause, and I say give if you feel connected to that. And I think what you're doing is just amazing. And here's the thing, to add on to that, if you know this is something God put in your heart, who knows what God's going to do with this? It's so much bigger than we can
Yeah,
imagine. And that's
yeah.
with this or anything that God tells us to do. You just serve gratefully. And I am so grateful myself for this time with you. You are really a beautiful person. You really are that person in those books. So
You're
support.
beautiful. You're beautiful.
Well, it's been my honor. I think you're wonderful. Everybody get Lorna's books. They'll touch your heart. And I love how genuine you are in person and in your books. And I really connect with that. You're just present and you're there. And I think that's a lesson that we can all learn. So thank you so much for your time, Lorna.
Thank you, and God bless to all of your listeners and to yourself and your family. So God bless. Love you all.
Yes, very much. So thank you for watching, everybody. And buy Lorna's book, Angels in My Hair. Take care. Much love. Bye. Please subscribe, like, and make comments, and support this channel by becoming a member. Thank you for your continued support.